Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make the chocolate glazed donuts, which is part of your quantity conversions unit. So after you've converted your recipe in class, your teacher will review to make sure that you know your equivalents, and then you will get started on pre-measuring and then making the donut dough. The donut dough needs to set overnight or else the dough will not be thick enough for frying. Okay? So to do this, you are going to start by, I've measured my flour, and you're just using general all-purpose flour. It has a lot. This is going to make a nice amount of your donuts. So I have that right in my bowl. Next, I'm going to add our baking powder, baking soda, which are our leavening agents, salt, which helps with flavor, and then a little bit of cinnamon, which is almost like, they're not going to be very cinnamon-like donuts because they're chocolate glazed donuts, but it just gives it an extra something. I'm just going to mix this together with a fork, just to make sure that the leavening agent, the cinnamon, and the salt is evenly distributed through all this flour, just like so. Okay. Looks like that. I'm just going to set that aside. Okay. My next step, it says that I need to, these are my wet ingredients, so we're going to do kind of a dry and wet type of thing, is I need to beat my eggs with my sugar. I'm going to break these into here. This is my garbage bowl, just to make sure I don't get any shells or anything like that. I'm just going to take my fork and beat these in here, like so. I'm going to beat these with the sugar still, so I'm just going to put it in there, make sure it's all, the yolk is broken up. Then what I'm going to do is, it says in your recipe to use your KitchenAid, your kitchen mixer. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to do it by hand. But in class, you don't have as much time as I have right now, so you will actually be using the kitchen mixer just to save on time. But I'm just going to give you the general idea. So I'm going to put my sugar in, using my wire whip here. And I'm going to incorporate the sugar with the egg yolks until it's thick and a rich yellow color, like sunshine, just like so. And this is going to provide flavor, bind the ingredients together, help make them golden brown when they bake, or when they fry. Sorry, you're not baking these. And it also gives it some thickness. So I'm just about there. I should have no hard chunks or anything in here from the sugar. And it's nice and thick, just like so. Okay? I'm going to set this off to the side. And then now I'm going to show you how to melt the butter. We'll be right back. Hello, and we're back. My next step in my recipe says that I should melt my butter over medium to low heat. And then to that, I am going to add my milk, 1 cup of milk. Okay. And then I'm also going to add my vanilla extract, which is going to give your donuts a little bit of flavor. I'm just going to wait 1 second for this to melt. We'll be right back. Okay, so my butter is completely melted. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate this into my egg sugar mixture, and I'm just going to do a little bit, and I'm going to stir. What that's doing is just kind of bringing this temperature of the sugar up to the temperature that I just heated of the milk and the butter. And the reason why you want to do just a little bit at a time is because this could end up being scrambled eggs, since I have 2 eggs in here. So this process is called tempering. So now it should be good that I can add it in quicker, like so, just like this. Okay. And now we're ready to incorporate this into our dry ingredients. And I'll show you that. Now we're ready to incorporate our liquid into our dry. Let me just recap. In a large bowl here, I've already combined the flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and cinnamon, which we've combined and set aside, so we're ready for that. And then in here, this was a couple of extra steps. But what I did was we mixed the eggs and sugar, and we had a nice thick yellow substance. And then over a saucepan, I melted our butter, added our milk, put in our vanilla, and then I incorporated the two together by a process called tempering. So as you can see, I don't have any scrambled eggs. If I would have added it in right away, we could have had some scrambled eggs. So now what I'm going to do is I am just going to form a small little hole, right in the center, and I'm going to start incorporating our liquid ingredients. And you're just going to start mixing it. You could do, as the recipe says, you would be doing this with a KitchenAid or kitchen mixer. So this would be a quicker process for you. But I just want to make sure, for the purpose of this demo, you see the basic process. It starts to come together. Add in the rest. And now I'm just going to combine this until you see no more white. So we'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished mixing our dough, so it's nice and thick. There's not any more white. So now what we're going to do is you're going to put this in plastic wrap, because you cannot store it overnight in the bowl because we don't have enough bowls for all of our classes. So just like so, get all that dough off. And this needs to set overnight. So it will firm up, set better, so it's ready for our frying tomorrow. So I'm just going to cover this up like so. Make sure that all of the dough is covered, or what will happen is it will develop like a skin, and then it will be very tough for you to work with tomorrow. Okay? So then you're going to label this with you and your partner's name, group number, and period. And then we'll be back tomorrow to show you how to fry it. Thank you. Okay. Hello, we're back, and our dough for donuts is ready to go. So what I'm going to do, this is day 2, and you're going to pretty much have almost the whole period to shape your donuts, make your glaze, and then also fry your donuts. So you're going to have to work pretty diligently while you're in lab. Now I just divided this up into, I'm going to divide it into 4 pieces. Okay, so you're going to roll these out in just little sections. So what you're going to do is, it shouldn't be too sticky, but you still want to put down a little bit of flour. And you can use a rolling pin, or you can simply just pat this out. It's up to you. I find that just patting it out is perfect. You want it about a half to a quarter inch thick. They are going to puff up because you have the baking soda and the baking powder. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your donut cutter. These are specific for donut cutting. You can pretty much use any cutter, but this is giving that unique look. So you're going to just go down like so. See, this didn't cut all the way, so I'm just going to cut it, help it, and then I'm going to separate. I will fry the holes, and then you will also fry the actual donuts. So then bunch this back together, just like so. Make another one. Take it off, and you're going to keep going until all of your dough is done. And the reason why I put it on here is because before you fry these, they need about 10 minutes just to sit at room temperature, and then that will help them bake up better. Okay, thank you. Now I've let my donuts sit at room temperature and just firm up a little bit, and dry up, essentially is what you're doing. Now I've heated my oil. Now you will be using the deep fryer for this. However, for the purpose of my demo, I just heated up 8 cups of vegetable oil. You use canola oil, shortening, whatever you have. Any of those will work. You don't want to use like an extra virgin olive oil because it has a high smoke point, and it will just be a mess. So these are ready to go. What you're going to do is, as soon as they come out, you're going to put them right back on here. The paper will soak up the grease. So I'm just going to take this with my tongs, and I'm going to set them right into the oil. And what's going to happen is you'll see lots of bubbles, and that is telling you that your oil is hot enough. It's going to take some of that moisture out because this is a dry heat method. And then what's going to happen is it's going to float to the top, and it's just going to turn golden brown. You can put a couple of your donuts in there at a time. And as you can see, it's plumping up, and that's because of the leavening agent, the baking soda and baking powder. Having a reaction. I wouldn't put more than 3 or 4 of your donuts in there at once because you will overcrowd the oil and they will not cook. So you're just going to wait for them to turn golden brown. be very careful because these are hot. You can move this back and forth, flip this over. That's called swim method with deep frying. Flip them over to make sure that you're getting all sides coated and cooked. Just like so. These are looking beautiful. Just gonna wait for them to cook because you don't want the center to be raw, so we'll be right back. Okay, so my donuts are just about done. They've cooked for about 3 to 4 minutes, and I've flipped them over back and forth about every minute. The reason why you want to flip them back and forth is just because the deeper they are in there, the underneath part is cooking faster than the top part, so that's why you want to keep flipping them. But they're just about done. We just want to ensure that the center is done, and the best way to do that is to make sure that it's on medium heat. You can regulate the temperature of the oil with just a regular oil deep fry thermometer, but I believe these are probably done. Take them right out, and I'm going to let them just cool down, like so. So as you can see, they really bulked up in size. Some of them are oddly shaped, but that's just how I rolled it. This one's looking funky, but it's okay. These two are perfect. You're just going to let these cool down now before you glaze them. So I'll show you how to make the glaze in one second. Okay, so we just finished our donuts. As they cool, I am going to whip up our chocolate glaze. Your teacher may have to modify this recipe for time. Maybe you'll be making like a big group of this for like a table, or you'll figure it out. Just make sure you listen to your teacher's directions. So for the chocolate glaze, a glaze is similar to a frosting. The difference is it's going to dry and firm up, almost like when you go to Dunkin' Donuts. It's like a chocolate glazed donut, and it's like a frosting, but it's a little thick, crisper, thicker, essentially. So you'll see what I mean when I start doing this. The only ingredients is butter, chocolate, powdered sugar, and water. So what I've started doing here in my pan, over a low to medium heat, is I've just started melting my butter, and to that, I'm going to add in my chocolate, and I'm just using semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use white chocolate, or I'm sorry, milk chocolate, not white chocolate. Just start cooking this together until it's nice and smooth. So when it's there, we'll be right back. So my chocolate mixture, the chocolate and butter mixture is all looking perfect, nice and smooth. So my directions tell me to take it off the heat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in my powdered sugar. And the recipe calls for 3 cups of your powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is a finer granule than regular granulated sugar, and powdered sugar is used for frosting, glazes, and whatnot. So when you start mixing this together, it's like, wow, it's really dry. It's supposed to look like that. You still have to add in your water. But you want to make sure that this is all mixed together. It's going to clump up, which is what you want. Okay, now I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons or 1/8 of a cup of my warm water. And then now it's going to start forming into your glaze, coming perfectly together. So this is more of what you're thinking this should look like. Just like so. And you're just going to keep mixing it until there's no clumps. Just like so. Mine's not perfectly smooth yet, so I'm just going to keep going. I want to make sure it looks nice. And as soon as this is done, you cannot let it sit. You have to use it right away or it will clump up and become very firm. So that's why I've already cooked my donuts, and then I'm going to glaze them with the freshly made glaze. That's why it's essential that you and your partner really plan your lab well, so each of you has a designated job. One person's not watching the other person cook the donuts. Both of you are working cooperatively together and using your time management plan wisely. So both of these are ready to go at the same time. Okay, so it's nice and smooth. Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my donut, and they're cool now, because I waited, I planned my time well. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to put it in there by hand and go back and forth. It's not looking as pretty as I'd like it, but you get the general idea. Okay, I'm going to take my other one, go in dunk. Like so. There you go. And then you're gonna let you can put sprinkles on these right away if you're using it as an embellishment. You're gonna let them set, and then you may eat and enjoy and share with your friends because you're gonna have about a